Hi all, I've created a new reusable component called Accrued for team, which is actually a revised version of previously introduced data access layer. This new component is for minimizing coding effort for CRUD operation, hence making extra time for doing work on the other layers like API, client and design, as well as in plan. Accrued contains a method named Accrued, which is capable of performing create, retrieve, update and delete operations. There is no longer need for writing code for type conversion for models, as Accrued returns list of any type of model as per need through single line of code. Accrued is much more faster than entity framework, and coding effort is not much than entity framework, assuming that we are using stored procedure for performing any of the Accrued operations in our project. The execution time of Accrued is much more less than entity framework, as Accrued use Edu.NET to do all the activities required for Accrued operations in your project. But you don't have to bother about that. It will be taken care by Accrued. So what you only have to do, I am going through that how to use Accrued. Point 1, make an object of Accrued. You can see the code in point 1 that how object of Accrued can be made. It's a very simple way to make an object type. And then point 2, make list of parameters type, which is built-in type for this framework. That means there is a type called parameter, which will hold the parameter value and parameter name to be passed as parameter of the stored procedure, which is to be used for Accrued operation to be performed. So let us suppose you are doing an insertion operation. So for that you are using a stored procedure, and that stored procedure accepts few parameters, and that procedure may have some name like insert employee or insert cars, insert something. So what you have to do, you have to pass the parameters required in order to execute that stored procedure from your application. So to do that, what you have to do, you have to pass the parameter list of the parameters required to execute the stored procedure and the parameter name. Through Accrued you can do that, and that has been actually written in the point 4, that you can see that how Accrued accept two parameters, the procedure name and the list of the parameters in order to execute the stored procedure. Now to pass the list of these parameters, what we have to do, we have to make a list of type parameter. Then we have to call a method @parameter, where we will pass the parameter name and the value. So the @parameter method will return the object of type parameter content with the parameter name and parameter value to be added to the list of the parameter, I mean LST parameter. Now LST parameter is content with the parameter name and parameter value. Instead of one parameter, if you want to use, let us suppose your what I just earlier I told that your procedure insert employee or insert car or insert anything is accepting few parameters. So these are the few parameters. If you have only one parameter, you can pass like this. If you don't have any parameter, what you have to do, you have to only pass the parameter name to the CRUD, because the arguments taken by CRUD are create contents and LST parameters. So these two are among these two arguments, only the procedure name argument is a mandatory argument. Is a mandatory argument, but LST parameter is not a mandatory argument. It is an optional argument. So if your procedure is not accepting any parameter, then you can write like this. I am highlighting it. And if your procedure is accepting parameters, then you have to add those parameters to the list of type parameters, and then that has to be passed to the root function like this. And in order to understand that, we have to go through a small demo. You can watch this in my next video. Thank you for watching.